Happy Sabbath, everyone. So I don't know if you guys actually understood what Jawad was saying. He's actually from Afghanistan, and he went through the World Relief Program, and that's how he came to Sacramento. And now he's actually working for World Relief as well. As you guys know, we're actually taking partnership to work with these refugees as well. So someone like Jawad's case is exactly the type of people that we're going to be helping out. People who are escaping their home because basically they're in danger all the time, right? He talked about how his friend basically died just one day and he was gone. And so they're trying to escape from here, but coming here, they have nothing. They don't have any resources. They don't have any friends. And World Relief is an organization that we're basically partnering up with and saying, hey, we want to help them, okay? Let me read the scripture for today. It's from Isaiah 58. I'm going to actually read the whole thing. So if you open up your Bibles, it's kind of long, so try to stick with me, but it's very, very powerful. And there's like 3 or 4 main places when it talks about social injustice and how we need to take care of the poor. And Isaiah 58 is actually one of those chapters. So let's go into it. Isaiah 58. This is the word of God. Cry aloud. Do not hold back. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. Declare to your people their transgression, to the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that did righteousness and did not forsake the judgment of their God. They ask me of righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to God. They say, why have we fasted, and you see it not? Why have we humbled ourselves, and you take no knowledge of it, God? Behold, in the day of your fast, you seek your own pleasure and oppress all your workers. God says, behold, you fast only to quarrel and to fight, and to hit with a wicked fist. Fasting like yours this day will not make your voice to be heard on high. Is such the fast that I chose, a day for a person to humble himself? Is it to bow down his head like a reed and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? No. This is the fast that I want. This is the fast that I choose. What is it? To loose the bond of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break free yoke. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, to bring the homeless people into your house? When you see the naked, to cover him, and not to hide yourself from your own flesh. Then shall your light break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up speedily. Your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be in your rear guard. Let's go to verse 13 from now. Let's skip some of this. Verse 13. If you turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your own pleasures on your holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, and the holy day of the Lord honorable, if you honor it, and not going on your own ways and seeking your own pleasure or talking idly, then you shall take delight in the Lord, and I will make you ride on the heights of the earth. I will feed you with the heritage of Jacob, your father, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. This is the word of God. Okay. So if you guys have your sermon notes, you could kind of follow along. I'm going to give you kind of I know that was a lot to kind of digest right away, but I'm going to give you a very quick summary of what Isaiah 58 basically says. By the way, Peter, can you change the EQ on mine? Or Spencer, can you put everything in the middle? The treble is too high and the bass is too low. Just put everything in the middle. Yeah. Okay, so basically, what is Jesus saying? Jesus is basically saying, hey, all of you guys are fasting. You guys are seeking after me. Okay? So these are not just people who are, coming just one day at a time and just saying, oh, God, I want this stuff from you. No, it actually says, hey, you're actually coming, what? Daily. And you're actually trying to delight in drawing near to me. You're fasting, you're praying, you're seeking after me. And these people are saying, God, we're seeking after you, but what's going on? How come you're not responding to my prayers? Okay? So these are religious people. These are not atheists. These are not unrighteous people. These are people who believe in God. They're coming to God. They're actually seeking God. And they're basically saying, God, we're seeking you daily. And God is saying, what? Listen, you think you're seeking me. You think that you really have a relationship with me. You think that you're praying and you're fasting, but you missed all of it. What I really want, do you want real fast? Do you want to really, really seek me? Do you want to know what I am passionate about as God? It is to do justice. If you really want to know me, do justice. If you really want to seek me, do justice. And he gives an example of that. He says, let me skip some of this. Okay, so he says, is this not the fast? To loose the bonds, let the oppressed go, break every yoke. Continuing on, share your bread with the hungry, bring the refugee, okay, see the naked, clothe them. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, God says. Okay, you can seek me all you want, you can come to worship, you can pray, you could read the book, you could read the Bible, but you don't understand who I really am, you don't really know who I am until you actually do justice. And he makes it very, very specific. Now, some of you guys might go, oh, this Old Testament stuff, oh, just making me feel guilty. But hey, Jesus is all about love, 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 love. That's all I need, just love, more love. Well, actually, Jesus actually refers back on this because you see the language, so the wording is very similar. And he talks about this in Matthew 25. And we talked about this in Sabbath school today. Basically, God is talking about Judgment Day. And he says, the way I will evaluate the people who are lost and the people who are saved, the litmus test is by what? By how you have treated the poor and the sick. So it actually says this. He actually, he's very offensive, right? Depart from me, you cursed. And he's talking to the people who haven't helped. Into the eternal fire, for when I was hungry, you gave me no food. When I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. I was a refugee, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick in prison, and you did not visit me. Okay, do you guys see this reference exactly coming out from Isaiah 58? And Jesus is basically quoting it word for word. Okay, so once again, okay, what is Jesus saying? Jesus is saying, if you don't love the poor, if you don't love the hungry, if you're not feeding the hungry, the thirsty, okay, taking care of the refugees, the strangers, the naked, they're basically the poor. Okay, you can say whatever you want as Christians. You can come to church, worship, you can even preach like me right here, but you really don't know me. You really don't know what's at the heart of who I really, really am. Do you really want to know me? Do you really want to seek me? Do you really know what God really wants? He says this is at the center of it. Now, this is very, 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 for a lot of us, very uncomfortable. Okay? And some of you guys already feel pretty guilty right now. We'll talk about that. But do you understand, okay, what's really at the center of Christianity? What's at the center of God? Now, some of you guys, whether you've rejected Christianity, you go, whatever. Do you know what you are rejecting? Okay? Or some of you guys who have accepted this, Christianity, do you know what you are accepting? At the heart of Christianity, okay, is this concept of helping the poor. Okay? I talk to different people. These days I've been doing visitations. And one of the ways I know that someone is growing, and also in the Bible, as of course I get the principle from the Bible, is when they stop talking about themselves and when they start actually talking about how they need to do more things. where they need to look outside of themselves. And this is what God is basically saying. God is saying, if you truly have a real relationship with me, if you truly understand who I am, the focus is not going to be about you. Okay? Christianity is not, okay? I don't know what you guys signed up for, but if you think you signed up for, I'm going to come to church, I'm going to do all this stuff, and then God's going to bless me more, sorry, wrong religion. Okay, I'm going to tell you up front. Okay, don't come if you think that's going to be like what Christianity is. Okay? No, Christianity is, I'm going to love you so much, you're already so blessed, now go and reach out to people who are less fortunate than you. Okay? So when I see people, when I meet people, when I talk to people, I know when people are actually getting closer to God, when they're actually saying, God has given me so much. I want to give back. I want to serve the church more. I'm actually seeing people who are in need. I need to do that more. You see, that's a sign of growth. Okay? So this is what I think Tim Keller says it? Yeah, Tim Keller says this. A deep social conscience and a life poured out in deed of service to others, especially the poor, is the inevitable sign of a real faith and real connection with God. What is he saying? He's saying if you do have a true relationship with God, you serving other people, that's inevitable. Okay? Some of you guys, you might be thinking, well, I've been a Christian for a long time, and I never felt that way. Well, most likely, you don't have a real faith or real connection with God. You have a misconception of what Christianity really is. You have a misconception. Maybe you are following your own God. Very tough to hear these things, right? So let's kind of talk about it. Okay, we're going to talk about two things using these verses. Number one, what is justice? Okay, what does Jesus want us to do? Like, how far do we just give everything? How far do we actually get involved? Number one, why is God so passionate about this? And number two, how do we actually have the power or the motivation to actually do this? This is very difficult. Okay, let's talk about that. This verse itself doesn't really talk about it like in depth, like directly. There's a lot of other verses do. But I'm going to show you how it uses the premise of this thought, okay? Let's get there. All right. Let's get here. So again, he's talking about how we need to share the food with the hungry, the refugees, and the naked. And then the last part, he likens all of these things as your own flesh and blood. What is he saying? He's saying, when you are helping the poor, when you are helping the refugee, when you are helping the naked, people who are in need, people who are poor, what are you basically doing? You are helping your own flesh and blood. Okay, now, this is why Western justice, idea of justice, and biblical sense of justice is totally different. And that's why, for us, we have a really, really difficult time doing this. What God is basically saying is, okay, do you want to know what justice really is? That means you think of every single person as a son and daughter of God, including yourself, right? That means all of us are interwoven. All of us are connected. Now, we do this on an individual level, right? People we like, or even our sons and daughters, our family, mom and dad, what do? We take care of them. When they're hungry, we just go, deal with it. No, what do we do? We help them. Why? Because there are flesh and blood. We feel like we're responsible for them, we're culpable for them, right? And this is what God is basically saying. His mindset is, don't think of just your own little tiny family, just as your own, but think of the world as your flesh and blood. I'm going to give you an explanation of this. Actually, I don't need to take it off. Okay, so And this is what we call a fabric, okay? A fabric is all of these threads, different threads or strings, okay? All of these strings that are laid out. But they're not just laid out, right? For example, if I got a bunch of like strings together or threads together and just laid it on top of each other, would that do anything? Would that become a fabric? No, it doesn't, right? What happens? It actually becomes like you have to go like under and over, and then what do? You make it tight. And what do? Then actually you become, that's what fabric is, right? And the stronger material you use, it becomes more expensive, but it becomes more warm and more strong. Do you guys understand the concept? And that's what God is actually saying about us and this world. Okay, and this is very, very difficult for us as Westerners because we think of our justice just individually. We think of justice as more of an individual freedom, right? We go, let me do what I want to do, regardless of the community, regardless of the majority, regardless of the government. It's about me, individual freedom, right? For example, if I think, okay, I like a certain gender, then who are you as a community or a government to tell me what I should believe and not believe? If I believe I am a certain sex or I have certain inclinations, who are you to tell me what I should believe or what I should like or what I should dislike? You see, that's what American justice system really looks like. It's individualized. And so when we come to the Bible and God actually says, wait, don't you realize that all of you guys are actually, the way I created this world, you guys are not all separate little beings, but you guys are all actually interwoven all together like this, like a fabric, like a piece of fabric. That's a totally, totally different way of looking at social justice. Okay? What does that mean? What that actually means is, okay, you see, like I said, it's not just about throwing our money to somebody. It's not just about giving food to somebody. Because that's just like putting threads on top of each other. That's it. What does God actually want us to do? He actually wants us to get really, really involved with people's lives. He wants us to actually really, really get involved with these people's lives. And again, for us, when we think of social justice, we're like, oh, as long as I help somebody, as long as I just throw them money and that's it. But Jesus actually says, no, it goes much, much deeper. There's a movie, a great example of this. If you actually love movies, and I think this is like one of the best movies ever. Oh, I actually forgot the title. What's that one Christmas movie, honey? What's that? What was it? No, It's a Wonderful Life. Okay, and some of you guys, older people, okay, if you're older, okay, they used to always show it on Christmas. So I never watched it because I'm young. But if you're older, they always showed it on TV, okay? But basically, okay, watch that movie, okay? Because there's a family in there, and all he does is, I'm going to serve the community, I'm going to serve the community, right? And he says, I'm willing to sacrifice my wealth, my time, my resources for the community. But he actually comes to a point, I don't want to spoil the movie, but just watch the movie. He comes to a point where he becomes really depressed. Because like the American mindset is, no, you can't serve other people. You're becoming poor. You're losing stuff because you're helping other people. So he becomes really, really depressed one day. And he comes to a thought of suicide. Okay? Angel comes and actually, before he dies, shows him what this town, what this city would look like if he actually never had existed. And it shows him, and it shows this, Potterville, not Harry Potter, but Potterville. Okay, if you guys watch the movie, you understand. But basically, it's this one rich guy, he rules all of the town. And it's a horrible place. It's a place that you guys definitely don't want to live in. So again, that shows a great conception of what it actually takes to show our interwovenness and how we can actually see social justice being done in our community. So what I'm trying to once again, incredible definition of justice. Again, for us as Westerners, very, very difficult. Even as I'm preaching this, I realized, even as I was preparing this, I was like, are you kidding me? Now, by the way, scale of 1 to 10, you don't have to answer, but scale of 1 to 10, how many of you guys feel guilty? Huh? Guilty? You don't have to raise your hand. Yeah, some of you guys? Same for me. I mean, you guys are like, came out to church and talks about this stuff. Should have picked a different week, right? Okay. Most of the time, and parents, you guys understand this, it's easy to use guilt to have people do stuff, okay? It's easy to use, okay, there's two basic things. Parents, you guys will understand this pretty well. Or spouses, you guys will understand this. Anybody, if you have relationships, you understand this, but especially parents. But parents, they use two basic things to motivate kids. It's basically fear and pride. Okay? Fear is you don't listen, consequences. Okay? It's not going to be good for you. Okay? Pride is you're better than this. You're a good guy. You're a good kid. You're a good boy. A good boy doesn't lie like that. A good girl doesn't get angry like that. But you're a good girl, aren't you? It uses pride. Okay? What's the problem with this? Problem with those two things, it works. It works very well. But they never change the heart. Okay? Fear and pride never changes the heart. If anything, pride and fear actually makes the kid more self-centered. Why? Because why should I not lie anymore? Why should I help the poor? Because I'm going to get a negative consequence. And I don't want negative consequences, so I need to behave better. Who is it based on? It's based on me. Okay? How about pride? Same thing, right? Yeah, I'm not that kind of a person. I'm a great person. I'm a great guy. I serve the poor. I'm a great person. It really becomes about you. It becomes about me. It becomes self-centered. And so you see, I could use guilt on you guys. I could use fear on you guys. I could use all of these, but it's not going to work. It's not going to change your heart. Then what is? Then what is? Okay, we get a glimpse of this. Okay? What is going to change your guys' heart that you actually care for the poor? Says it here. What is this? Oh, I totally skipped this. This is really, really important. Okay. How much time okay, what's skipped? Okay, I'll just read it and explain it really quickly. Okay? So what I talked about, remember I talked about how we need to give out to the poor? Okay. I backtrack. Okay, this is a really good quote. The righteous person is a person who disadvantages himself or herself for the community. Okay? This is by a Hebrew scholar, very, very famous Hebrew scholar, commentary, and he basically studied all the words, righteousness and wickedness, and he came up with these definitions. So he says, because again, God sees the world as a family, as a fabric, you guys are all interwoven together, so a righteous person is not just a person, I believe in God, I come to church, I do good things, but a person who understands God's heart. And what's at the center of God's heart? It's to disadvantage himself or herself for the community. Then what is a wicked person according to the Bible? Wicked person is a person who sees his or her resources as belonging just to themselves. Okay? If you actually go back and read the Bible with this kind of knowledge, it's going to look totally different. What's at the center of God's heart is, remember, you guys are a community. Not just a single cell, but a whole body. So you guys need to really, really support each other and be totally involved. Okay, how do we get the motivation to actually do this stuff? Okay, so if it's not fear, if it's not pride, what is it? It's going to be beauty. Okay, we're going to see this. Okay, example. If you turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, and a holy day on the Lord honorable. Okay, what's going on? Basically, all these people, and we, okay, if you grew up SDA, you totally understand this, right? You could keep the Sabbath. You can do all the right things, but there's no joy in it. Okay, there's no joy whatsoever. Oh, man, I got to wait. Okay, oh, then I could watch TV, or then I could buy. It becomes, and what is he saying? He's saying, listen, you guys are doing all the right stuff, but you don't get it. There's no joy within you. And he's saying, when Sabbath actually becomes a delight, when Sabbath is actually a beautiful thing, then that is the motivation for you to actually start doing these things. Okay, I'll give you an example of this. And by the way, all of us know this intuitively, and you guys went through it. And I'll give you an example of this. Some of you guys in college, we had to take a class, and some of you guys know, called music appreciation. Okay, basically, we had to listen to all of these stupid classical music, Mozart, Beethoven. Not stupid kids. It's awesome. But basically, I listened to it. I attend the class. I try to do well. Why? Because I didn't want to listen to these things, but I did it because I wanted to get good grades. Why? Because if I get good grades, I could make more money, right? But now what do I do as an adult? I actually enjoy classical music. I actually listen to it. I actually download it. I actually pay for it. I actually go to concert. Okay, I actually haven't gone in a while, but I would actually, like before when my parents would say, hey, let's go to a classic nope. But now I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I would love to go. So before, I used to listen to music so that I can make money. Now I actually give money so I can listen to good music. What happened? What happened? What happened was I became to see the beauty of music. This is what one of, she's not a Christian, but she's a Harvard professor, and this is what she says. Beauty stops us, transfixes us, and take the individual away from the center of his or her preoccupation with self and promotes a distribution of attention towards others. Now, again, not a Christian, but basically she's saying, hey, you guys have been in nature. Like recently with Jane and Shauna and a couple of us went out, we saw stars. And we don't just think, oh man, look at all these stars. But what am I wearing tomorrow? Or what do I look like? Right? No, you don't do that. When you see true beauty, you lose yourself. So how do we actually get the power to do this? How do we actually get the motivation to do this? We have to understand we get our beauty, or we get the sense of beauty from Jesus. When people are asking at the end of time, in Matthew 25, but Jesus, when were you naked? When were you thirsty? When were you homeless? When were you a refugee? Jesus can actually says, did you see me on the cross? Did you actually see that I was naked? Did you actually know that I was homeless? Did you actually see that I was actually a refugee at one point when he went to Egypt? Do you realize that God actually disadvantages himself and he becomes poor? He identifies with the poor and he became poor. Why? Because of us. Because of us. You see, this is the beauty that it's going to take to really, really unravel our fear or our pride or our guilt of actually helping the poor. You see, it's going to be really tempting for some of you guys in here, okay, to read Isaiah 58 and says, oh, God hasn't been answering my prayer and doing stuff. Oh, I haven't been helping the poor. That's why. That was the one thing, and now I get it. Now, if I help the poor, God's going to give me stuff. But again, what's the heart behind it? The heart behind it is, again, it's about yourself. How can I use God to get at me, my stuff? Are you helping the poor for the sake of helping the poor? No, it's really about you. I'm going to help the poor so I could get stuff from God. And what God is actually saying is, look at the cross. You see me naked, you see me homeless. Do you know why I'm doing these things for you? It's because you are already so blessed. You are already so loved because of these things that I have done for you. So therefore, if you look at the note, the summary of all of these things is we need to serve, okay? We need to serve not to get blessed. Okay? That's every other religion. We serve because we are blessed already. Okay? There's some of you guys, extreme fear, thinking, I'm not good enough. I haven't done these things. And you come in front of God and you go, God, I got to do more stuff. Then you will accept me. And Jesus is saying on the cross, no. Even before all of that, I have died for you. Some of you guys pride. You come in and you say, God, look at all the stuff I did. Now accept me. I serve the poor. Now accept me. And Jesus says, do you understand? You can't save yourself. You see, when you see the beauty of that, when you realize that you'll never be good enough, but still God loves you and God accepts you, only then you can lose yourself. You're not thinking about, what do I need to get? What do I need to get? What do I need to get? But with the fullness, you can actually start to give. Do you understand that today? Do you understand the love of God? Do you actually care for the poor? This is this is the core of Christianity. This is at the heart of Christianity. This is at the heart of God. But we cannot operate out of guilt, but we must see more and more of beauty. So we're going to go into time of reflection. Okay? Think about, okay, what do I need to do now? I got to help the poor. No, that's not your thought. Your thought process needs to be, how can I focus on God more? So look to God and look how He became poor for you so that you can become poor for others as well.